new research that followed 79 what's called non-heterosexual women for a decade found that bisexual women continue to be attracted to both sexes over time. It's not just a passing phase. Now, here to tell us more about this new study and what it means to be bisexual is Dr. Jack Dreschner. He's a psychiatrist and psychoanalyst here in New York City. Welcome, doctor.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, let's see. The study is looking at bisexual women and I guess trying to prove that it's just not a phase that women can go through, but if they consider themselves bisexual, it is a lifestyle choice that they make for life. Is that correct?
Well, the study looked at about 80 women, I think 79 in total, and followed them over 10 years, interviewed them every 2 years, and tried to see whether or not it was a phase. Some people believe that bisexuality is a phase on the way to one thing or another, homosexuality or heterosexuality. The study's author found that most of the women who started out as bisexual ended up in the bisexual camp at the end of the study as well.
So basically, there are three types of sexual preference: heterosexual, homosexual, and bisexual. Is that correct?
Well, those are the usual standards that we talk about today, yes.
And after this study coming out, is that not correct?
Well, first of all, to be clear, we talk about sexual orientation rather than sexual preference, because sexual preference to many people assumes that it's a choice, that people choose what sexual gender they prefer. But yes, today we talk about homosexuality, heterosexuality, and bisexuality as the three sexual orientations. And this study tried to prove that the category of bisexuality could be considered a separate category by itself. And the author felt that the study proved that it is.
And what's the difference between bisexuality and experimentation, if you will, that people may go through at some time in their life to try it out with the same sex or be attracted to the same sex? It's been said that all of us are attracted at one time to another to the same sex. Is that different than bisexuality?
The notion of experimentation, which people may do when they're very young, or they're not sure about their sexuality, or people may do under the influence of alcohol or other substances, is different from the idea of a stable sexual orientation in which people over extended period of time continue to report actual sexual attraction to one sex or another. So the difference is that people who are stable in their sexual orientation are not exactly experimenting.
Okay. And what else came out about the study is that bisexuality does not lead to, they looked at women, so does not lead to someone becoming a lesbian, that they're actually complete separate choices, if you will.
Well, there are many people who believe that people who declare themselves to be bisexual are on a kind of transitional stage on their way to coming out as gay. It's sort of a way station. Gay or lesbian. And the study said, no, that's not the case. What was interesting in the study also is there were women in the study who identified as lesbian who actually did have bisexual experiences, and they also identified as lesbian, even though over the 10-year period they did have some bisexual experiences.
Now, is bisexuality becoming more accepted? There was a show on, I believe, MTV or VH1 that kind of highlighted somebody, and they were making choices, male or female. So it seems to be more out there. Is that your experience?
I think there's more conversation about it. I'm not sure that there is more acceptance of it. I think that it's a not very well understood phenomenon, that there's not a lot of research on it. There's much less research on bisexuality than other kinds of sexualities. So it's there's more talk. I'm not sure if there's more acceptance.
And after reading this article, I was just wondering, what's the point? I mean, why is this important? I mean, if somebody wants to be bisexual, that's fine. Why are these studies done, and how are they important?
Well, studies that increase our knowledge of human sexuality are important in and of themselves. They increase our knowledge about human relationships. They tell us things about ourselves that we don't know. So in that regard, it's important. And I think it's important to the identities of people who think of themselves as bisexual, who often are a very misunderstood group, who are often regarded by many as confused and unclear and having not decided one way or another. And the author of the study has kind of made the point that not everybody decides heterosexual or homosexual. Some people remain attracted to both.
And when I was reading it, I thought that maybe the importance of this is if a parent had in this case, a daughter who was bisexual, that they wouldn't try to convert her, if you will, to being heterosexual or kind of following the way. Do you think that that can be read into this also?
Well, if parents are looking for some solace in this study, what was interesting is that people, the women in the study who were bisexual, regardless of whether they were attracted to men or women, one more or the other, at the end of the 10 years, when the average age, they started at 19 and they were about 29 at the end of the 10 years, whatever their sexual attractions, people wound up choosing monogamy one way or another. So someone could be sexually attracted to both sexes and they may choose heterosexual relationships anyway. So if some people are looking for some kind of solace in that, maybe there it is.
Okay, and one last thing. This looked at women. What do you think if it looked at men? Would you expect any difference whatsoever?
Well, I think there was a study that came out last year having to do with men, and with men, what they refer to as the fluidity that we see in women does not seem to be there, that men tend to fall out one way or another, mostly homosexual or heterosexual with not so much bisexuality in between.
Great. Dr. Dressner, thank you for joining us today and explaining this study.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And that's all the time we have for today. We hope you found this edition of Healthy Life informative. To find out more about this and other health-related topics, we invite you to go to our website at abcnews.com. Thanks for joining us today from all of us at the Healthy Life production team. We hope you stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.